making it a broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep and Abaragani to my Africana Studies friends, and good morning or good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I find goodbyes traumatizing. I said I find goodbyes traumatizing. My name, by the way, is the Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're located at 8916 South Main Street. Contrary to what they're saying on Google got that wrong, but we are located at 8916 South Main Street. We have been pastoring that church now, coming up this Sunday, 49 years. 49th anniversary will be celebrated this coming Sunday. And again, as I say, we are the New Life Institutional Baptist Church. You will be located at 8916 South Main Street, 9003. Put that in your GPS. It's going to bring you right there. I don't advise or recommend that you be searching for addresses while you're driving, because you might have an accident. Just set your GPS and let it bring you over there to where we are, all right? All right, God bless. We have services tonight, Friday night, beginning at 7 p.m., just a few hours from now. And then on Sunday at 10 a.m. with our Sunday school. And thereafter, around 11:15, we will begin our morning worship. And Wednesday night, of course, is prayer meeting night. And you're welcome to any and all of our services. And we thank God for you giving us a look in on our offering right here. This presentation is more or less a social justice presentation, and it's entitled It's Time. And one must always narrow the subject so you can deal with it. Social justice by itself is a very broad subject, and again, time is a broad subject. Our school teachers taught us that. Start on the subject, stay on the subject. And so we concentrate on, as it relates to the environment, and we concentrate as it relates on to the economics. In the environmental portion, we have two very serious events or occurrences or situations that are obtaining. I'm sure you're aware by now of the dangers of climate change, and just a few degrees of temperature upward is causing the icebergs to melt, and man, as the geological age of man, and which we call anthropocentric, is not doing a good job. He did not do a good job. He was a very poor steward over the things that God had placed in our hand, even though my people were the subjects of slavery and almost extirpated, according to the genocide that was committed against us by this nation, and again by the French and the Spanish and the British and the Belgians and the Dutch and the Portuguese. But yet we survived. We are still here. And so we need to bow the knee to God and tell God thank you as we come up on this another Thanksgiving Day celebration. But as we said, the environment, as it relates to the climate and the geographical aspects of the environment, is under siege, under attack. And we have become better stewards of the resources that God has placed in our care. I was thinking back on Tyson Foods, that's a chicken company, and they polluted all of the rivers down there in Arkansas where they have their plants. And they just toss the refuse out. You can't make this up. They just toss the refuse out of the chicken plant into the river. And you can't keep doing that, because now the rivers of most of our Arkansas rivers are polluted. It's polluted. And then not only that, you think about the lead that was in the waters there in Detroit earlier this year, and they're still trying to rectify that. The lead is in the water, and the lead that is in the pipes, and therefore the people weren't even able to drink water. They had to boil the water, and you can try to soften it up, but you can't take a bath in contaminated water, because that goes into the pores of your skin, whether you just drinking it in, now you have softened it in. And so the cities and towns around about Detroit, I can't think of the name of that city most impacted by the lead, but they just recently were able, I think, to try to get the lead down to levels that where the water is not brown. Lord have mercy. And all of this is what? Caused by man. This is a man-made catastrophe. It is a catastrophe that had its origins in human greed and in man's wild abandon and total disregard for nature. And therefore now we are starting to run short of renewable resources. And, we take water for granted, but I imagine one of the commodities that is going to be fought over in the coming years is not going to be food. I think it's going to be water. Because just like you have a scarcity now in the United States, and indeed all over the world, petroleum, oil-based products, you are going to even have a greater scarcity of water. And so we need to be conserving our resources better. And the state of California, for one, needs to be building desalination plants so they can take the available water out of the ocean. At least the projects that don't have to have fresh water can have desalinized water for the outside interest of irrigation and cultivation and other needs. I was looking at the car wash man. You're not going to be able to keep doing that car wash, because that's using up a valuable resource that cannot be replenished. And I believe we are in the 7th year of a continuing drought. And thank God we had some rainwater over the weekend, but we still don't have enough water to make up for those other years. And we need to have a wet winter, a lot of snow here in California, because the mountains are bare, and the mountains are where historically we get most of our water for our reservoirs in the spring runoff. As the snow begins to melt on the mountaintops in the spring, then our reservoirs are able to catch a lot of that water. And so we are in a very serious, one could say dire condition as it relates to our environment, for climate-wise and geographically wise. Not to mention the social environment where the violence, the legacy of violence and lethal force is committed against the unsuspecting public, not only by the criminals but also by the police. And that is an environment that we are going to definitely have to have some mandatory relief and mandatory mitigation, if I may use that term loosely. But we're going to have some relief as it relates to the society, because we cannot keep going the way that we are going with the Nicholas Cruzes and the other mass murderers that for a long time have just been making wholesale slaughter of many of our citizens who are just going about their business, as was the case in Buffalo, New York, where the man came there and said he came to kill him some black folks. And those type of slaughters, coupled with the economic slaughter that is being executed against us, and you have the makings of a major sociological genocide. Because if we can't get jobs, I'm talking about black folks, and we're not allowed to work for whatever reason. That's ironic, isn't it? They brought us over here to work, and now they don't want us to work, because it looked like we were getting some benefit from our labor. And believe me, I don't want to work if I ain't getting no benefit out of it. But the society as a whole is seemingly dead set and resentful of black progress, and therefore you have the female Karens and you have the male Karens, both of them, wherever they encounter a progressive, hardworking black person that is advancing themselves or benefiting themselves from that labor or from their mind, and it looks like they're climbing up, then they are encountering a lot of resistance and resentment based on hubris and arrogance on the part of those who have for so long time had the advantage of being unchallenged or being on top. But now a few of us are beginning to benefit economically from the labor or the work of our labor. And it appears that when we move into a neighborhood, of course it's always been that way, don't get me wrong. They used to be able to burn you out or burn a cross on your yard or stand outside your house and yell and use expletives, racial expletives, epithets, until you finally had to just get your family together and move back out. But now that we are able to buy into those neighborhoods again, and now we are not only the homeowner, we are a lot of times the real estate broker, and a lot of times we are the contractor who's building those homes or houses or projects, and so we're catching it from both ends. And so you need to take all of that into account. There is a lot of inequality in the land of the free and the home of the brave. I don't want to be alarmist, of course, about those climate deniers and everything. But you know, they denied the climate change in Noah's day. You know, Noah told the people it was going to rain. They told him he was crazy, and he told them that for 120 years. And after the 120 years, they were caught unawares because they didn't believe the preacher. All right, and they had never seen rain. And then he was telling them, forecasting or predicting for them, or to them on behalf of God, that if they wanted to save themselves, they need to start doing what he was doing, and building an ark, so the people could have a chance to ride out the storm. But they didn't believe Noah then, and they don't believe you now. So we're in for a rough ride. The people that live out in the Marshall Islands, they're already seeing the water rise, and it's affecting their livelihoods because, as I say, when the glaciers, the icebergs, begin to melt, then that water is that ice, in other words, becomes water. That water gets is coming up in the ocean, and if something isn't done quickly, then it looks like the way the climate change the earth is warming up, there won't even be any icebergs in a few more years. Indeed, that emergency is already upon us. Now, the economic component is even more strained. I saw on the news this very week where some judge on yesterday decided that President Biden could not have that student debt forgiveness. He said it's unconstitutional. So, and I knew that over $1 trillion, I think it was 1.75 trillion with a T, dollars in student loan debt would not ultimately be forgiven, but I didn't think the judge would say it was unconstitutional. But they're going to have to fight it out in courts and see if he's going to be able to keep that promise that he made when he was running for president. And he's had a good record of keeping his promises, but now the opposition is lining up against him and taking his causes to court to get the Supreme Court ultimately to overturn all of his plans. And he's coming up for re-election in 2024, and so he needs to address that, because if the Republicans gain the majority in both houses, then he's not going to be able to get any of his programs through, even if he signs an executive order, which I think he is trying to do as it relates to student debt forgiveness. All right. Now, on the economic front, I believe in reparations. Do you believe in reparations? We need reparations from the 246 years of unrequited toil, added to the 100 years of just solid Jim Crow segregation that caused us to have to fight so hard just to be able to sit down at a lunch counter for coffee and crackers. And we need reparations. We need to be made whole. That includes and is not limited to the great government programs that we were early denied, especially the federal programs for buying a house for the first time that created the suburbs. It invited the white folks in, but it excluded the black folks. The government was willing to underwrite loans for its white peasants, but it was not willing to underwrite loans for its black peasants. And so, coming out of World War II, there were redlining, and the people who were redlined was my people, and the people who were green lighted were the other people. And as we say, race is a social construct, but it certainly has yielded a bitter fruit in this nation. So we need reparations. When Martin Luther King made his speech there in August 28, 1963, he said, 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. And we can look around now and say that with all of the supposed gadgets and luxury items that we have been able to provide ourselves, we really are not free. And you only have to look at the case of our black personalities in sports and otherwise to know that we really haven't come that far, and we're not really that solid in our economic growth. Kanye West and Oprah Winfrey notwithstanding. Ye lost $1 billion to $2 billion just because the people got mad at him about what he said about the Jews. He called him anti-Semitic, even when he said he himself was a Jew. And indeed, all of us can trace our roots back to Africa and back to Palestine and those areas, and Egypt, those parts of the world which were once a part of Africa, and but yet based upon the hubris and the arrogance of those who claim to be white Jews, the rest of us are supposed to go behind the house, and that tyranny of racism is still rearing its ugly head. All right, but in regards to the reparation, the Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter 15, picking up the reading at verse number 12, and if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him or her go free from thee. And when thou sendest him or her out free from thee, thou shalt not let them go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him or her liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress. Of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto them. And in other words, biblical slavery was only the last 7 years. And I told you our slavery here in this country lasted a minimum of 246 years. And even after slavery ended in the United States as a result of the 1865 end of the Civil War, don't forget, it was still going strong in the Caribbean and in the West Indies. And those nations, countries or territories did not begin to win their independence for a very long time. Very long time. As a matter of fact, Haiti has never breathed a breath of fresh air, and they overthrew the French way back in 1804, causing France to sell at bargain rate prices the Louisiana Purchase that included Florida and all of the territories that double the size of the United States. But Haiti has been made to suffer, and it has had to endure repeated incursions, if not downright invasions, not only by the European powers, but mostly by the United States powers. Don't forget that the United States invaded Haiti and looted the bank there in Haiti, and came away with 15 million of Haiti's much needed dollars at that time, 1915. And the United States did not leave Haiti until 1934. And in that time, the United States had rewritten Haiti's constitution, because the constitution stated that no foreign person would be able to own land in Haiti. But our Marines, and yes, the Marines invaded Haiti and looted Haiti's bank and brought it back and put it in the Bank of New York, there in New York on Wall Street. And Haiti's been kept crippled and in beggar status ever since. And when the United States was always the one that was putting in the leaders in Haiti, it was, whether it was Papa Doc Duvalier, or who was a despot himself, a tyrant. And when the Haitian people finally elected Aristide, then the United States overthrew him two times. And the second time it was under Bill Clinton, and the next time it was under George Walker, G.W. Bush. And so Haiti's been up against it. And Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell even told Aristide to get out of his own country. And he was not going to leave, and they kidnapped him and forced him onto a plane and dropped him off in the central part of Africa. But other people mercifully intervened, Maxine Waters being one of them, and they were able to get him back into the Republic of Haiti. But Haiti never has caught a break from the white man. Let's put it that crass. And it's all because that they won their freedom from the French. All right, I've talked too much. My time is over. And the election, I never did get to the election results. I told you to vote right. And we're still waiting for the call on the remaining elections that will determine whether the Democrats will be able to hold a majority, or will the Republicans hold the majority in the Congress and the Senate. So we are in for a rough ride either way it goes. But keep yourself prayerful, stay faithful, trust in the Lord, because He's able to do exceeding abundant above all that we ask or think. But don't ever forget that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And remember, we need unions, because unions are our only bargaining power that can get the 40-hour week, and that can get living wages, not just minimum wages, but living wages. And so if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, take my advice and don't work for them. All right, Doc, we out of here. Love you.
My bad days, yes they do.